So, a very good morning to everyone, those of you who are here live today, and then for those of you joining us later on YouTube, then good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are, and a very warm welcome too. This is the fourth of 6 teachings on the paramita of dhyana, meditation, roughly speaking. And so let's start with a very excellent motivation. We're not meditating today as such, but we've seen in the past weeks that meditating in itself very often is neither virtuous or unvirtuous. Focusing the mind, we've seen you can focus your mind in evil, you can be a very mindful sniper and so on. We've seen that. So when we meditate, the motivation is very, very important. It determines where the karma of having sat and meditated is invested. And then in previous courses on karma, we saw that meditation is not just confined to Buddhist. So the fact of focusing your mind, settling your mind, and so on, has its own energy, has its own karma, and can be virtuous or unvirtuous depending on the motivation, on the quality of the mind that's meditating, why you are meditating. So motivation is what will determine the karma we make this morning. So this morning, let's make really good karma. Let's make something that's got power and use, and that will come back as something wonderful in the future and will benefit many, many people. So we do our prayers. We take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and in the community of most noble minds. From this moment on, until we reach the very heart of enlightenment, through the practice of generosity and all 6 transcendent virtues, may we reach total awakening and every enlightened quality, to be able to truly help sentient beings so lost in samsara. May each and every being be well, live long, be healthy, be well provided for, have good friends, and find respect. May they live in places of peace and plenty. Most of all, may they practice Dharma. May they each create the causes for these good things to be their wealth in future lives. And may they be free from suffering and from creating causes of future suffering. May they discover the natural, sacred well-being that's totally beyond suffering, and attain the great equanimity, free of closeness or distance from anyone. Deyata shame shamawati shameta shadru Om kurimare jite karota keore tejowati orayane Vishuddhanya male malapanaye kukure kaka grase grasana Omukhi paramukhe amukhe sham dawane sawa graha bandhanane Nigri etva sava bhava pravadina Vimukta mara pasha savitva buddha mudra Anudgatita sava mare butsarita parishuddhe bhagashantu sava mara kamani. Glorious Guru, source of all blessing, ever present above our heads on lotus and moon seat, through your immense kindness, ever sustain us, that the accomplishments of body, speech, and mind flow from you, and we are one. So far we have had 3 sessions on this paramita of meditation. I won't try and recapitulate, otherwise it takes a lot of this session. But we've seen how meditation in general, GOM, is this reprogramming of everything that we are. And then in all of that process, on the cushion, off the cushion, this reassessment of who we are, this deeper knowledge of who we are, how we function, then we gain these skillful methods to shape ourselves to become what we want to be. And this most important point, the point of GOM, is about becoming. We are working to become what we want to be, and this involves a transition from being a puppet to a puppeteer, one who has the strings. So at the beginning, our thoughts, our emotions, our history pull the strings of who we are, and we only have limited power. As the text says, we live between the jaws of the defilements. Gradually, we are shifting things so that we are in control, sort of, but then because what we're aiming for, especially in Mahayana, we take refuge in the Buddhas, the bodhisattvas, the Dharma, the cosmic truths, the timeless truths. So really we want to let all of that natural goodness take control of the strings of our life. We don't want to become control freaks, where as an ego, as a person, we're completely in control of everything. We've got that illusion. We want goodness to take over our lives. It's basically what our bodhicitta is about. So GOM is the general term. Within all of that, then there is a very distinct need to learn to focus. We saw the definition, to hold our mind where we want it, one-pointedly in virtue. And I hope there's not too much background noise. They're thinning out a big tree next door, so there's a chainsaw. Don't know if you can hear it or not. So there is a need to focus now, especially at the beginning of our path. This is a tool everyone needs. People are on different paths in Dharma, different traditions, different ways. Within one tradition, a good teacher will guide this person this way, this person another way. But I'm thinking of toolboxes. I'm quite a handyman in some ways. So tools, and I'm also an Aquarian. An Aquarian, often if you buy the tool, you think you've done the job, and then you realize you've got to do the work as well. So being equipped is very, very important. And so you can buy toolboxes, huge ones with hundreds of tools in them. But there's kind of a basic set of things you need. A hammer, a couple of screwdrivers with different points, spanners. You can't free a nut with a hammer. I'm sure some people have tried. And then you can't unscrew something with a hammer or with a spanner. So we need a few very basic tools as a Buddhist, we all need the tool of being able to hold our mind where we want it. It's so vital. This is what this paramita is about. And because Gom becoming is about reprogramming, reshaping ourselves, then this is the way we shake free of the harmful thoughts and emotions and tendencies that have been in us by not feeding them, whereas they come and they know how to get a grip on us, our anger, our lust, whatever it is. Then we learn through meditation how to keep our mind where we want it and not to buy into every next thing that comes up. So it's a vital tool. And then we've seen more recently in the teachings that there is a need for what in Tibetan is called Wimpa or Empa, which is hard to translate. It's a mixture of isolation and transcendence. What it means is you need to get away. You need to get away from something. You need to rise above it. That's the transcendence. So sometimes we can do that physically. We saw the advantages of going to retreat. You actually go far away from human busyness, human activity, all the attractions of life. You go into solitude. And then you put your mind in solitude. So there is a need for, let's call it isolation. Isolation in the sense of insulation. In French, it's the same word, isolation. It means, so like electric wires that can be dangerous, but then we cover them with plastic or rubber or something, and they're not. So when something's isolated, there's no danger of contact. So this is very much the idea of impa, is you are away from what can cause you harm. You learn to take yourself away. So then we saw when you go to retreat, then it's very important, and also not just retreat, for each session of meditation when we sit down on our cushion, it's as though you're in retreat. So we think very seriously, why am I here? Am I here for this or for that? And we saw all these wonderful animal examples. Are we there just to park our mind in a kind of a quiet space, like the bears that hibernate? Are we there to do lots of prayers without thinking, just repeating formulae like parrots and so on? And so there, dhyana in the sense of focus becomes very important. In a session of meditation, in an ordinary day, or when we go to retreat, we must get to the heart of the matter. Life is short. The opportunity to meditate and do intense work on ourselves, which is what we really mean, is rare. So we need to maximize the benefit, and we need to really home in on, focus in on what's important. So it says, traditionally, when people went to retreat, or in some traditions, then you find your major poison and you work on it. That's what we got to last time. And we saw the 5 main remedies for the 5 main, the main remedies for the 5 main poisons. And we saw the remedy for lust and desire and attachment is to look honestly at things, not partially. So the main focus we had in that practice was on bodies. So a lot of life is about attraction to bodies. And so we just are honest. What is a body? It's not just the bit we've selected out to focus on. It's all the rest. So anyway, we looked at that as a remedy for desire and attachment. We looked at loving kindness as a remedy for anger. We looked at the remedy for jealousy, and the remedy for pride, and the remedy for ignorance. And so we did that last time, and I said last time there wasn't much time, so I'll say a bit more today about the remedy for ignorance. And if ignorance in the sense of mental dullness, slowness, reluctance to learn is your particular weakness, then we classically meditate on the 12 links of interdependence. But that's in a much larger context, really, of what we need to know about interdependence. Actually, it could be quite a blessing if your main poison is ignorance, because the knowledge of interdependence will really serve you not just to remedy your ignorance, but in the end, that will be your key to the higher teachings. So we all need to know more. So I want to say just a little bit more about interdependence. I did say last time, we can think of it as time and space. In space, then there is the interdependence in the moment. And so I recommended you read the Karmapa's book, Interconnectedness, and see how nothing exists all on its own. No one exists all on their own. We exist in dependence upon things, for sure. We need to put food in this hole and then crunch it. I often wonder about birds and animals without teeth and so on, the ones that just swallow, what food is for them. I wonder, do birds get just a little taste when they swallow the seeds? It's very different for humans. We chew things. And, anyway, we depend on food going in here, oxygen going in here. We depend on our parents to grow up, otherwise we're wriggling little worms who can't live, and so on and so on. We depend in that way. And then what we see depends on our eyes. We were talking about cataracts before the session started. How well you see depends on quite what you can see. So that depends on your eyes, but then what your eyes see depends on what's out there through the power of karma, and the same with all 5 senses. So an awareness, a growing awareness of interdependence, like food we eat, people grew it. They grew it with the rain that fell because of all the movements of El Nino and all of those global currents, which makes rain, which makes dry, and the soil, which has become what it is over hundreds, thousands of years. And then somebody grew it, harvested it, it got to you one way or another, carried, transported. It was cooked with energy that came through gas or electricity or wood burning. And you ate it with a fork that somebody made in a factory. And then as the chemicals in the food hit your taste buds, lots of little, so much interdependence we can become aware of. It's vital for understanding karma, the way things work, and at the same time shunyata, emptiness, voidness, because nothing exists all by itself. That's the only point of shunyata, emptiness teachings. All the rest, the fancy words, clarity, non-thought and everything, it's all about that, really. So there is this interdependence where, just now in this teaching, then you seeing me, hearing me, depends on so much. And then how you hear what I'm saying, gosh, that depends on all your history. Language, what you learned, the knowledge you've acquired or not, the life experiences you've been through or not. So there's this sort of interconnectedness and interdependence. We can call it spatial, for want of a simple term. But then there's temporal, through time. Why are these things which depend on each other now, and they're connected now? Like I'm connected with you. There are other Buddhists watching other teachers on Zoom just now, I'm sure, all over the world, or in teachings and so on. Why are you watching me? We're somehow connected. And so why are you there? Why am I here? Why have I got this little bit of knowledge that you need and so on? It's because through time, karma, the power of cause and effect through time, the history that made you who you are in this moment, made me who I am. And so that part, we study interconnectedness through time, through the 12 links of interdependence. Link number 3 is the really interesting one, and that is the bardo consciousness. Who were you? What were you when you came into this life, before you knew your parents, up to seconds before they conceived you? What were you? You were this bodiless, so you didn't have a form of expression like you have now, a form of knowing with eyes and ears and senses. You were a disembodied mind carrying lifetimes of karma and programming. And all of that programming had distilled into the next life story that you were coming into. It's like walking into a cinema. You're just about to see whatever it is, Indiana Jones film 15 or whatever. You're going in there, and then for a couple of hours, that's the reality you'll be immersed in, along with a bit of popcorn and soda, and then you go out. So we have been immersed in this life. So link number 3, bardo consciousness. Why? Why were you that consciousness? And why was Ken Holmes another consciousness before he was born? Because of all the things we did before. So that's linked to karmic creations. My goodness me, why did we do all that stuff that we can't even remember? Do you realize how many hundreds, thousands of lifetimes you've been doing stuff? Getting involved with stuff, building stuff. Can't remember. But in the process, we built up a lot of karma. And we got this brain wipe of I saw the funniest thing the other day. Just a moment. If I can find the image, I want to share it because this is serious stuff. Let me disappear for a moment while I hunt. Okay, let's see if I can share this screen with you. Oops, no. Can you see it? When you're reincarnated, but they forgot to wipe your memory. Okay, so enough of that one. So why were we that bardo consciousness? Because of all the things we did before. And why did we do all those things? Because we didn't realize what was going on. We didn't realize samsara, nirvana, the pure nature of mind, all the goodness, the light, the wonders of the mind. We got involved with stuff and made karma. And then, so once that bardo consciousness is conceived, that's step 4, then the senses develop, step 5, and then once we're born and we've got these senses, there are things to see, hear, smell, touch, we get attracted to some, put off by others, and we get involved with situations. And link 10, make more karma. Link 11, get old and die. Link 12, get reborn. Oh dear. So we do need to understand the basic principles of that. And in studying it, then we learn so much that will nourish our ongoing meditation practice, deepening, softening, quietening, awakening our mind. Very, very, very useful information. So it's not just the remedy for ignorance. And so anyway, the 5 remedies, let's leave them at that for the moment. But the point is, if you remember, the point of shamatha is focus. So we are not messing around. You're in retreat. You've got to face the fact that that's your main poison. So, who sings it? John Lennon? I'm just a jealous guy. Not that one? Maybe not. So maybe you realize you have to accept what a jealous person you are, or what an angry person you are, or what a lustful or greedy person you are. We need to accept it, and then now is the time to work on it. So it's focus on that. It's not, how can you say, casual. It's not light. You know, I'm an angry person, I do a bit of loving kindness. It's, I'm an angry person. This is so dangerous for everybody. It's holding me back. It's a limitation. It doesn't need to be there. I want to really work until I feel the power of love. So beautiful that you couldn't be angry. And the people you're angry with, you understand them, because love is awareness, awakeness, understanding, respect, and so on. So the 5 remedies need to be done with focus. There's an interesting point here. It's kind of a deviation from the text, but I need to bring it up sometime today, and you may come back later. But it's something we study in the Precious Human Existence teachings. It's interesting. It's a bit scary in a way, but it's the way it works. So in there, we see that after some understanding of Buddha nature, our potential, that we can all awaken. So yeah, everyone can. And we've all got the same Buddha nature. It's the same in all of us. In you, in me, the Dalai Lama, in Buddha, and so on. That's the good news. There's no platinum quality Buddha nature in one and bronze quality Buddha nature in another. Same in all of us. All of us. Any one of us can do what Buddha did. Any one of us. That's the good news. Bad news starts with a but. But we fall into 5 families. So we look at those 5 families. The last 3 are people who are, let's say, committed Buddhists. They found their way. The first one is called the cut-off, in brackets for now, family, people who have not found any spiritual way. So family 2 is called seekers, spiritual seekers, Dharma seekers. And it says they meet circumstances. That could be a teacher. It could be a teacher in an established tradition. It could be a Dharma center, or it could be books and scriptures, but they meet circumstances that they find appealing, attractive, and they're drawn to them. And it says then, because of that, they learn the jargon, they learn the language, they learn the rituals, the practices associated with what they've been drawn to. The actual name for this is the uncertain stage, because you're not yet committed. And I think this applies to lots of us and the people we know. And especially these days, we have access to so much through internet. And it's not like in the past where there was just word of mouth and not much travel, where you had much more limited access to spiritual possibilities. These days we've got overload. So you get drawn into something and then you start doing it. So if you think about either your own or the people you know, their meditation history, how did it start? Why did they start doing whatever it is they do? Somehow they got attracted, drawn in to somebody, to something, to a center, to a tradition. And I mean, you go there and that's what they do there. You know, every Saturday they do this, and then every Wednesday they start ringing bells and doing prayers. So you join in, and that becomes your practice. This uncertain stage is exactly what it says. It's uncertain what you'll find. That depends on your karma. It's uncertain what you'll stick with, what will attract you. Is it healthy attraction? Is it unhealthy attraction? And then it's uncertain where you'll end up. With a bit of luck, and we try and do all we can to make it happen. You want to meet an authentic tradition, an authentic teacher. You want to have a healthy relationship to all of that. And then you'll end up as it says either a Sravaka Buddhist or a Mahayana Buddhist and so on. But as far as meditation goes, it's really interesting because there's a lot of this uncertainty around. So meditation is a path. In the very first talk, I think I mentioned the difference between therapeutic meditation, where you feel good through what you do, but you are not meditating as part of a path. When it's part of a path, you might not feel good for what you do. It may be painful psychologically, painful physically. Maybe you decided to do 100,000 prostrations. You might not do that for the fun, and you might come to enjoy it. But anyway, there's a difference between meditation as a path. So it's like a path. You know, sometimes a path is hard going. You're walking on gravel, you're walking uphill, you're walking, if you're doing like the Camino in France and Spain, Saint-Jacques, Santiago. And then you go for many days, weeks, sometimes months, through the rain, through the sun, through the hard bits, the easy bits, because you're on a journey. You want to get to the end. So when we think about that analogy of a path, it's not a question of there you are, and oh, look, there's a couple of paths. Which one will you go? The one that's attractive at the beginning, because it's got nice flowers and nice little trees. But the question is, where does it end up? How long does it take? And you need more information. And then who's encouraging you to go that way and why? And so when we learn to meditate with mindfulness, Buddhist mindfulness, secular mindfulness, when we learn to meditate because somebody went to a course and they said, oh, wow, it was really wonderful. So then we go and do it. Great. Got a good experience. But it needs more than that. So here, with the paramita of dhyana, we are looking, of course, with the assumption that we've made the bodhisattva commitment, we know where we're going. Buddha's total, complete enlightenment, all the qualities of the mind blossomed, all the problems dealt with forever. That's where we're going, and the reason to be able to benefit all sentient beings. So when we take the vow, we say, I will do whatever it takes to achieve this. Not, I'll do what's nice to achieve this. It's very different. So this is an important point to consider. So we saw, if we come back to Gampopa's text, that it's very important to deal with our most powerful, harmful emotion. For now, because it is the most powerful, limiting, damaging part of who we are now. But if we're on a spiritual journey, it can come back with horrible repercussions later if we suppress it, don't recognize it, don't deal with it. So now let's return to the text. So we're on page 15, I think, of your support document. And there it says, if all the afflictions, we're about halfway down the page, are equally present. So if, of course, we've all got some anger, some desire, some jealousy, and so on. So if they're all present, or if your mind's busyness is the main problem, you just thought after thought after thought, too much discursive thought, then the remedy is to train in breathing meditation. In the text, so we're going back to Gampopa's time, and the teachings he heard about in India, says there are 6 main aspects of practice such as counting the breaths and so on, that are presented in the treasury of higher knowledge. Counting, following, resting, thinking, transformation, and utter purity, so 6. And they're in 2 groups, 3 and 3. So if you see in the bracket, it says the first 3 of these are explained as the steps for calming the mind and taking it through the various stages of actual meditative absorption, dhyana, from the grosser ones to the most subtle. And the last 3 are about gaining wisdom. So that's thinking, transformation, utter purity. They're about wisdom. The first one is about calming the mind, settling the mind. The last 3 about making the mind wise. And in the Tiantai Buddhist school, then these 6 steps are a very big deal. Our Kagyu tradition has its own very powerful, very rapid methods of meditation, as it considers that this journey through the dhyanas, through those 6 steps, takes too long. So here again, as is often the case, and I did mention this in the first talk, Tibetan lamas know about the dhyanas. They know about these 6 stages of shamatha, and will often present this as the classical template of concentration meditation. Yet although, how can you say, that's the map, they've got their own way of doing the journey. Helicopter. So they prefer the shamatha and vipassana texts found in the Kagyu tradition, such as Mahamudra, Ocean of Certainty, Mahamudra, Dispelling the Darkness of Ignorance, Mahamudra, Moonbeams, pointing out the Dharmacharya, and so on. So that being said, the first of those 6, so those 6, we're not using them very much in the Kagyu tradition as such, but the first one, which is counting the breaths, is very, very, very widely used in the Kagyu tradition, used for beginners in meditation. So this course is not actual meditation instructions, but counting the breaths is a first way of settling the mind. Remember, this process is vital you get it. In these 6 talks, if you get one thing, get this, right? Your mind's busy, all over the place. And the more we get to know it, even when it quietens down, what seems to have quietened down, it's quiet there, but in the background it's busy there, busy there, busy there. And then it settles down a bit more, and a bit more. And you realize it is so busy. That's the problem. What we're doing is we want the mind quiet. And our friend, and a wonderful tool, we can do what we want with it. So how do we do that? How does the busyness work? How does it come and get you? Second after second. It's compared to a monkey. It's like a monkey, always getting your attention. Or it's like a child, a very attention-seeking child. Got to make more and more noise to get your attention one way or the other. So we need to anchor it. Simple, simple, simple. You count the breaths. You need to be aware of the in-breath and aware of the out-breath. And if you've done that, then you count 1. When you begin, if you were more or less aware of the in-breath most of the time. That's okay. And more or less with the out-breath most of the time. That's okay. You can count 1. But if really you weren't with the in-breath, or for most of the in-breath, your mind was thinking of this, thinking of that, remembering this, then you go back to 0. So aware of the in-breath, aware of the out-breath, aware of the in-breath, aware of the out-breath. And by the way, aware of the number. The last one was 1. Then you count 2. Aware of the in-breath, aware of the out-breath. Was it 1 or 2? Back to 0. So we need awareness of the in-breath, the out-breath, and the number. Any doubt? Back to 0. It's a very good method, because if you're honest with it, because there's no one to deceive anyway except yourself, then you see how long you can become aware. So we get up to 3 or 4 or 5. So the idea is to get up to 21, and then to get up to 21 pretty much each time, then 51, then 101, then you're doing pretty well, because things will happen when you are really with the in-breath and the out-breath. So when it's the 6 steps, then the following becomes more awakened, let's say. And the idea of in-breath and out-breath has to be recognized for what it is, an idea. There is no in-breath. In what happens live when you're sitting meditating, what happens? What can you be aware of? Sensations, isn't it? In all the sensations that happen, is there an in? Look, have a good look. There's the thought in, so because we know, we studied anatomy, we know oxygen's out there, lungs are here. When we breathe in, oxygen goes into the lungs. We know that, we superimpose our knowledge onto the sensations, but look for an in sensation. There isn't one. Look harder. There must be. No, there isn't. No one, you won't find one. So what there is actually, as we breathe in, we know we're doing that, but actually, how do we know? Because your chest inflates. That's real. Your chest moves. Your stomach moves. That's real. We can be aware of the diaphragm, the movement. We can be aware of sensations on the tip of the nose as air comes in, but we won't find an in. You'll just find a tingly cold nose as you breathe in. So actually during the in-breath, there will be quite a lot of different sensations that we call in-breath, and the same with the out-breath. So the following becomes much more accurate. Because the problem with the idea of in-breath is what? I'm helping you here. You should be experiencing this. But it's one thing. In, out, 1. That was easy. Because you were with an idea. Now, if instead of being with an idea, we are with actual awareness, aware of what happens, you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. You don't know what sensations will come up till they come up. We have to learn sometimes there's no sensation. You have to be aware of no sensation, chest, no, stomach, whatever. Many split seconds of sensation, and you are with them, undistracted. That's much finer than one. Anyone can do that. You can get a child to do that. But now, undistracted awareness of everything that happens when you breathe in, undistracted awareness of everything that happens as you breathe out. You remember the number 15. No. And you don't go 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16. This is part of real mindfulness training. Mindfulness means you retain in mind where you got to. So this whole procedure helps us to be not distracted by our habitual mind. This is the point, counting the breaths. It's a very, very basic, easy to learn practice to do, and we should do it until we can authentically follow in and out 21 breaths. I just thought I'd mention that because counting the breaths is quite important. So we go back to the text now. And so it says, now this is very big. There's one paragraph. It says, beside these, there are also practices in which the afflictions are neither eliminated, so anger, jealousy, pride, not eliminated, they're not indulged in, and they're not transmuted, anger into love, pride into putting yourself into the place of the other, and so on. Such is the way of Mantrayana and the instructions of Mapa and his spiritual heirs. These are to be learned directly from a qualified guru. And that's the way in the past. It always was. One-on-one, custom-made, tailored meditation from your teacher to you. And they are to be understood through union with the innate and the 6 practices of Naropa. So, seeing as this course is about meditation, I'd like to introduce one term there. Here I've translated it as union with the innate. Union, fusion, with what is innate. Nate is natus, is Latin, it means born. What is arises, what is there naturally. It's innate. It's not artificial, it's not acquired, it's innate. It's the innate, natural, true nature of your mind. So union with the innate is a profound topic. So what is in union with the innate? You? No. We're already innate. We're already Buddha nature. We don't need to be in union with it because we are it. So whatever arises in the moment, in this very moment, a sound, a sight, a taste, a thought, a memory, whatever arises is not separate from our Buddha mind. Not separate. Not separate means in union. So union with the innate, I'm not teaching you it today. You need a proper guru and all the mantra, the preparations. But Gampopa is referring to those kind of teachings where when anger arises, when jealousy arises, when lust arises, pride arises, then it is in immediate union with the innate. Now, some people use Trungpa Rinpoche's term. I don't like it, but some people do. They call it co-emergent wisdom. They use that term. The term in Sanskrit, which is good to know, because whoever translates it as whatever they do, that's where it came from, is sahaja. Sahaja. It's a bit confusing because there are non-Buddhist traditions that also do sahaja yoga with a very similar idea. Anyway, I wanted to introduce that term, sahaja, in Tibetan, lenchik jejor, it's quite long, sahaja. So there are those traditions. Now what I sent out to you, is that, good, okay. Can't find it. Okay. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure why that's not showing. Yeah, okay. Okay, sorry for the delay. I hope you can see the chart now. And this diagram I sent to you, we're not going to get involved with this. As you can see, it's rather complicated. But down near the bottom, you've got Mapa's Kagyu transmission. Now, Mapa is just so amazingly important. So there's a pink line that ends up in Mapa, and that's the Mahamudra teachings from the Buddha through Saraha, Nagarjuna, Shabaripa, Maitripa, then to Mapa. And then there's a yellow line from Tilopa. Now, when you follow that yellow line back, you see one branch goes straight up to Buddha Vajradhara, one branch goes to the left to the Dakinis of, it's called Udiyana or Ujjain or Swat Valley in Pakistan. So that's outside of India. And then there's another yellow line to the right, which goes to the gurus of the four main parts of India: North India, West India, East India, South India. Tilopa traveled a lot. He had more than 100 gurus from whom he learned 100 or roughly 100 different transmissions. So we see in there dream yoga, non-dual yoga, the Tummo, the heat yoga, mother tantra, father tantra, non-dual tantras, Mahamudra teachings, the clarity, illusory body, all of those he'd mastered. He gave the essence of all those teachings, all of those, the richness of India, the richness of Buddhism up in Gandhara area. He transmitted the very essence of those to Naropa, who gave them to Mapa. So within our Kagyu tradition, we have all of these, and all of them, whether they're in forms of visualizations, mantras, deity practice, or direct mind instruction, or like dream yoga, what you can do when you're asleep and dreaming, illusory body in the daytime and so on. All of these are alive in our Kagyu tradition. They each represent a fast-track super path, and we need to get them one-on-one from a qualified teacher. So they are mentioned. Nothing more to say, because you need to get them one-on-one from a qualified teacher. There you go, if ever that happens. But to come back to the text, then so it says, then we come to a major section in Gampopa's chapter. It says, the different aspects of meditation. There are three. You know, with the paramita before, with each paramita there have been three main aspects. Here there are meditation which procures tangible well-being, something tangible, something that's happening now in this life. Meditation which gives rise to good qualities, a meditation which accomplishes the welfare of others. And when we look now in the next section, which unpacks those three titles, the first one, meditation that procures tangible well-being, is described in a text called the Bodhisattva levels. This comes from Vasubandhu, Vasanga's brother. And it says, this is the meditation of bodhisattvas. It is free of all thought. It gives rise to excellent mastery of mind and body. It is supremely peaceful in the very best way. It is without arrogance. It does not get involved with experiencing the taste of meditation, and it's free from any idea, any notion. This is what should be understood by well-being during practice. So tangible well-being, well-being during practice. So now this one's interesting. We've looked at this a few times. I had a really good meditation. What does it mean? It means you felt good, usually. So now, oh dear, we've got a definition of a good meditation. So then Gampopa explains that quote phrase by phrase. The first thing it says, it is free of all thought, means that it is awareness that remains fully concentrated without any interference due to discursive intelligence producing ideas such as existence and non-existence. So if you are, like you say, a learned bodhisattva, then you'll know about what are called the four extremes. It exists, it doesn't exist. It sort of both exists and doesn't exist. Or it's something other than existing or not existing. They're the four possibilities. There's nothing else. Try and find another one. So what are we talking about? Counting the breaths. So we can be aware of Nagarjuna's philosophy and Ayadeva and Chandrakirti and all those great Buddhist philosophers about what they say about existing, non-existing, existing and existing, neither existing, all that. We can be aware of the implications in each moment of what we experience. Or we can take it much more simply. We are not analyzing. That's what it means. What's your job? Counting the breaths. Beautiful holiday. You don't need to think. So all you've got to do with definition of almost every meditation practice there is. You do what the instructions say, and that's it, nothing else. Aware of the breath. Count. Gosh, this is easy. Aware of the breath. Not the breath, not oxygen, not something coming in, something going out, something coming into me. I'm breathing, I'm not breathing. Ken, who doesn't exist, is breathing. Non-ego, but somehow presence in the five aggregates of a precious human existence is breathing. None of that. None of that. Holiday. Just aware. Tickles, but without calling them tickles on the end of your nose. Chest rising, but without needing to say, my chest is rising. My chest is falling. I feel warmth in the stomach. Just awareness. Awareness of what's happening. And if you're aware and aware, you can count one. Not one in a system which originated in Arabia where they invented the zero as well. And no, just one. Just one, 2, 3. So when it says without thought, free of all thought, that means something like that. And then it says it gives rise to excellent mastery of body and mind. So now, as the note tells you, this refers to lots of things that we'll come back to in 2 weeks' time. Next week we have a monthly Tonglen. There's not a meditation paramita session. We'll come back to posture. But it says that gives rise to mastery of body and mind. So mastery of body. Posture. 5-point posture, 7-point posture. What is mastery of body? So here we're looking at the conclusion. The bodhisattva's meditation gives mastery of body and mind, but mastery of a body. So when we look into it, this takes us back to the teachings on interdependence. Because one aspect I didn't mention earlier with interdependence is when we look at causes giving rise to effect, we examine what we need to know about the raw material of all of that. And so the raw material in Buddhist terms is the 5 elements. The 5 elements are amazing. They are the tiniest and the biggest. So let's look at the tiniest. The word element, dhatu in Sanskrit, means component. At the time of Buddha and in Greece at the same time, so at that time in Greece, in India, there were already what we call atomists. They weren't atomic scientists, they were atomists. Atomists believe that there are tiniest building blocks of the universe and that everything is somehow a combination of them. But you can go down and down and then you can't go any lower. So of course our definition of how fine you can go has changed over the ages. We've got finer and finer in molecular science, microbiology, all of that kind of thing. But the idea is that there are basic elements, and the way they are working with each other makes situations. So it's like we know in chemistry, you've got 100 and something different elements, no more. And everything that we experience around us is complex mixtures of those elements in chemistry, and so on. So it's that kind of idea when we go down, 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 down to the tiniest. But then also when we go up to a bigger level, then the elements come into their own. This is where it's practically interesting for us, because we can't really go down on the subatomic levels, atomic levels. But if you take the classic thing of a film of people walking across London Bridge, you got the bridge. Each person is walking at their own speed, their own agenda, where they're going. Old people, young people, fast. Maybe some people jogging these days. And so each component is random. But if you speed up the film, and at different times of the day, busy time, then you start to see patterns emerging. What makes the patterns is unrelated people doing their own thing. Yet you see the flows of people as they kind of avoid each other on the fast track. And it's this kind of thing. When we look at weather, when we see, it's raining there, it's dry there, there's more, it's random. It's different weather report for each town. When you zoom out, this year El Nino is bigger, and this means there's more of this high pressure sitting over Europe. And then that accounts. So you see bigger patterns. The overview made up of the details. So the 5 elements are very, very much to do with this. So when you go to a doctor, Chinese doctor, Tibetan doctor, they see, this element is overactive. This one is underactive. We'll try and bring them back into harmony and balance so that they're working well with each other. It's an overview of all the different bodily functions that get so specific as you go down and down in the detail. But for those wonderful doctors who can feel the trends which are masterminded by the brain and the endocrine system and so on, when all goes well. That's what we mean by the 5 elements. Our body has an effect on the mind. Can we do anything with the body to help it? Yes, we can. Diet, a behavior, but then specifically meditation, posture. Posture has power. So when we come to it next time, or the time after, last session, I'm not sure, we'll see how the reason that we do cross our legs when we can, the reason we hold our hands either on the knees or below the navel, the reason we hold our shoulders, our gaze in a certain way, has a direct influence on the elements of our body. And when the elements are brought into harmony, a little bit forcefully, then our mind settles very quickly. Even if you can do it very well, the 7-point posture of Vairochana, then Gampopa said, if even a monkey could do this, it would probably get very enlightened. Of course, a monkey won't do it, because a monkey is a monkey and it won't stay in the posture. Although there is a story in the sutras of a monkey that lived near a solitary meditator who had the most amazing posture. Like he was sitting with all that, everything perfect for hours and hours. And monkeys being monkeys, this monkey copied the meditator, and the monkey actually found a lot of benefit. And then that monkey went off to a place where there were quite a lot of Buddhist meditators, and they saw this monkey sitting. And they started copying. This is the story in the sutras, and they got very good realization. But the point from all those stories is, if you're not too old and wonky and rickety, and also you didn't grow up in a country where they sat cross-legged on the ground from the earliest years, but nevertheless, our body can be very, very helpful to our mind. And it can help the mind to settle. This is the key point. So then going back to this quote, it says it gives rise to excellent mastery of body and mind. So then the body work can be just simply posture to harmonize the elements. It can go deeper than that to the chakras and channels, whereby we breathe in a certain way, we work with the chakras, and that work is very, very helpful to everything we are, especially to our mind. And then the bodhisattvas meditation with the mind is, what to say? Sorry, I'm thinking, I'm looking at the clock. I'm wondering what can be squeezed in before we stop and what's best to squeeze in. Yeah, the reason I sent out to the people on the mailing list these two Mahayana sutras, of course there are lots more, these are just two samples, was to give you a feeling of that bodhisattva world. And it's a more general point I wanted to make during this meditation paramita course. So to come back to what was mentioned earlier, a path. For sure, as Buddhists meditating, we're on a path. We're not doing the meditation because it's nice, because our friends do it. We're not doing it for its immediate benefits. It's part of a structured path. Whether it's easy or hard, doesn't matter. It's a necessary part of our path. So then it's important to know what path you're on. When you start, it's, oh, do I go this way? Do I go that way? But once you've gone that way or this way, it's like getting on a train. This train goes there and that train goes there. Once you're on the train, you're going, and different ways. We need to work out, you maybe can't do it straight away at the beginning, but as your experience develops, go back to Gom, this word. Who am I? What's become of me? What do I want to become? Where am I going? And then the meditation needs to be in terms of that. What practice will get me there? So the world of the bodhisattva is a world of beautiful engagement. The world of the Sravaka is a world of total withdrawal. They're not the same. They're not the same. They both have their plus points and their difficulties, but they're not the same. So with the Sravaka way, as we've seen several times in this course, samsara's rubbish. We want out. Samsara means your own mind and the way it's involved with the mind poisons and so on. So shamatha and its results, dhyana, absorption. Take it out and you go deeper and deeper and deeper into peace. And that's your journey. Where you'll end up as an arhat is in a state of total inner peace. Not pure lands, not paradises, not engagement with the senses. Senses are shut down. It's the mind inside the mind, inside the mind. Total peace. What does peace mean? Nothing happening. Equanimity. Total. Withdrawal. That's nirvana for the Shravakas. The bodhisattva's journey is not total withdrawal. It's total engagement, because we are pledged, committed to help everyone. And there's no way you're ever going to learn to help everyone from a book or alone on a meditation cushion. You need to engage with people. It's the only way we learn. People are so different. Their situations so different. And their situations are a challenge to our own learning. Can we cope with everything that's needed? Do we even know what's needed to help this one, to help that one? There is no way you're going to learn without engagement, compassionate activity to help others. But then also that compassionate activity interspersed with retreat, meditation, so that you are more stable and strong and settled yourself. So because we're engaged and through our senses, this is the important thing. We are not shutting off seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. We are transforming them so that we experience everyone and everything more and more purely, with more and more loving tenderness, with a deeper care and compassion and forbearance and the qualities we've seen, right conduct, morality, ethics. It's all about engagement. So then the results of that, this mastery of body and mind that sentence refers to, is that our mind goes into pure states. Pure. If you say pure lands, it sounds like somewhere else. Pure states where the way we experience other people and the world around us is pure, but then we ourselves, through our bodhisattva refuge, are very connected with the Buddhas and bodhisattvas, and we don't just feel their blessing, which is our fifth sense, feelings, the nerve endings, as a kind of a feeling of presence and blessing, blissfulness, connectedness, but see them and hear them. The dakinis can whisper the truths of Dharma. Life can speak to us through the flowers, through the trees, through other people. This is the pure mind of saintly beings, of bodhisattvas. So then some of the accounts of that, in a way, some of the feeling of that comes through these Mahayana scriptures. The style, the language in which they're presented, and sometimes they're a bit long-winded, sometimes they're shorter, but it shows a remarkable variety, that once we are not withdrawn but engaged, we're not just engaged with samsara and beings to help, but the wonderful minds of other beings that have made such beauty. Here on earth, we have great composers, we have great artists, great craftspeople who've made wonders. And you realize, wow, how unique that person innovated, brought this to the world. And so the bodhisattva's minds, in their ability to use those minds in beauty, in harmony, in peace, to help other beings, it's just extraordinary. And we are becoming part of that community. So just a few words, not good enough words, but a few words to try and explain. It says it gives rise to excellent mastery of body and mind, supremely peaceful in the very best way, means the bodhisattvas meditation is very natural. You can just go into it. And and then it's peaceful. You know, this word peace has many senses. There are states of peace, like the Shravakas know, where it feels peaceful. But the real meaning is you are at peace with yourself. You are 100% totally okay with yourself. I've got a long way to go. I think we all got a long way to go to be, you know, like totally at peace with ourselves, and then at peace with everything that's going on and with everybody else. That kind of peace, where does it come from? It's not a something. It's not everybody else and everything else. Life's life. Pretty complicated. It's your heart is totally relaxed and connected to your essence. This is the bodhisattvas. Connected to their natural awakened essence. And in particular, the natural awakened essence is wise, is naturally wise. She's how she is, of course. How could she be anything else with all those lifetimes of karma and everything that happened? And he's like he is. How could he be anything else with all the causes and conditions behind and the world at this time and so on? An awareness of karma. Such deep wisdom. So there are many meanings of this word, of peace. Very deep. So supremely at peace. And then without arrogance means without the affliction of views. That we need to go into Abhidharma to look at that. But in general, it means even though you've understood so much, the more and more our mind awakens through Dharma, the more and more humble we are, because we realize we're far from being Buddha, and we don't feel better than those who've not understood, those who've not meditated, those who've not practiced. And then does not get involved with the experience, the taste of meditation, means there is no desire and attachment. We're not attached to our meditation experience. We're not longing for a particular experience. So the experiences can be so wonderful. And this kind of, I want to get back to that one, or I want that one, but even maybe a bit more, or, oh, it's gone. And sometimes people go through years of grace. They're just naturally blessed in a nice place, and it can go. Everything works through causes and conditions, cause and effect. The reasons that it's how it is are reasons. They happened, karma, cause and effect. And so we must be prepared for anything. Daisitupa puts it beautifully in material terms. He says, you're a prince one day, a pauper the next. It's the same. It's okay. Your meditation's fantastic for weeks on end, and then your mind's a total mess the next day. It's okay. It's part of the journey. And in the instructions to Guru Rinpoche by his own guru, Sri Simha, he says, there may come time when you wake up and you feel like you've learned nothing. You feel like it's all gone. He said, you must be prepared for that. That's part of it too. Just carry on. Just carry on. And not carry on in the hope that it will come back. Just accept and carry on. because then the more you hope that it will come back, the more you're going to get frustrated because it didn't come back this afternoon and it didn't come back tomorrow or the next day. Just accept. Go deeper. Go deeper. So this attachment to the taste of meditation is a long and amazing story. And then free from the notion of an object of meditation, the bodhisattvas' understanding is basically one of non-duality. And that understanding of non-duality becomes an actual realization of non-duality. So we're finished for today in a long session and the formal part. And we've got a little bit of time for discussion and questions. So let's dedicate anything that was good and useful. And homework, because we've got 2 weeks before the next session, is to read the support document about the 9 stages of shamatha, with the elephant and the monkey and the rabbit and the lasso and the hook, and become familiar with that. It will make my job much easier next time. Okay, so go through it a couple of times so that you know what the hook is, the lasso is, what the elephant represents, what the monkey represents, why they change color, what happens at the very end when you see the man in the cave and the woman in the cave, doesn't matter, person in the cave, and then their mind radiates as rays of light, and so on. Thank you. May whatever virtue was created by this session contribute to the state of omniscience being attained. Through the main enemy, our mind's defilements, being completely defeated. And through that, may each and every sentient being become freed from the ocean of existence, troubled by the waves of rebirth, aging, sickness, and death. May this precious bodhicitta arise in those in whom it's not arisen. May its development know no setbacks, and may it increase ever more and more. Through this virtue, may we quickly achieve Mahamudra and establish every single sentient being in that same accomplishment. So thank you all very much. And now we've got a bit of time to comment or ask questions.
Ken, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Brandon.
Hi. Okay, one problem I find happens now and again, or often, is if you read something that the Buddha is supposed to have said, like, say, relating to the Mahayana Sutras. Now, some of the stuff you'd say, well, this is obviously some of the stuff in the Mahayana Sutras, you think, well, this obviously never happened. Like, say, that the Buddha was born from his mother's side, for example, you know, or that each step he took, a lotus sprung up when he was a baby. He could talk. And like when I read things like that, I kind of like, it worries me because I think, well, if this isn't true, then, you know, what is the other stuff that I actually depended on as what the Buddha said? Was I misled about that? You know, for example, I was Googling a thing last week, there, thing about the 4 alliances. And now I don't know whether this is accurate or not, but one of the answered things that I saw was, it said that, like, that came from a Mahayana sutra that the Buddha either did possibly or didn't actually say that at all about don't rely on the personality of the teacher, rely on the teaching, you know. So I find that kind of stuff, I mean, doubt is a big factor in me, like, so I could kind of feel very undermined and doubtful, and, you know, then I don't know what, you know, what can I rely on? So that's my thing, if you have any comment on that.
I think a few weeks worth of comment on that, because it touches on lots and lots of things. But I'm trying to think, as I try to do, about how my teachers have answered similar questions to people. And so one answer is there's what certainly Akon Rinpoche used to say, there's no obligation to accept the whole package. We need to accept what we can believe and what can be of use to ourselves, usually with an injunction, and Taisitupa usually adds this, to keep an open mind on the rest. Right? So we take what we can use. So if you are, like some people have no problem at all. Okay, Buddha walked straight away, lotuses sprung up under his feet. That's how it was. Not everything's like it is today. It's not a problem for them. And somehow it gives a feeling of the specialness that happened at that time. So that's helpful for their faith in, how can you say, that there isn't just this dimension that's my experience, that there's more possibilities. So it suits some people, it doesn't suit some people. So you take what you can trust yourself. And for the history about the Mahayana Sutras, how authentic they were or not, did they represent what's called the Buddha's intention or not, but then again, an open mind. And I think see what can be helpful for us. For instance, one sutra that's perhaps more obviously than many others, a made-up one, is the Sutra of Filial Piety. Lovely title. But it's when Buddhism was going into China and other places where ancestor worship was very, very strong. Then there was no way that people would accept a faith that didn't have great veneration for the family and the ancestors. And so this sutra suddenly appeared at that time as being the Buddha's words. So, you know, maybe the Buddha did speak to somebody, but anyway, if we take that kind, you think, okay, well, that's obviously one that's a bit suspect, and let's say needs investigation. But can you learn something from it? Is respect for parents, recognition of one's ancestry and so on, is that of any use? That's another point. There's so many things to say about this. Basically, is you don't have to accept everything. If you find something useful, then please use it. But according to what we can accept, that's going to determine our path. So it can be slower or faster. It can be restricted to what we can believe in, whereas wider belief maybe opens doors to other possibilities. But then things like the Buddha's footsteps or Milarepa flying, we can think about it. Maybe that's interesting. What we just had in that quote that was unpacked, the bodhisattva's meditation is, then we look into what does it mean. Does it mean Milarepa flew? It says is without notion. So Milarepa could fly, could just go up in the sky and fly. Does it mean that? One possibility. Does it mean that people saw Milarepa as flying? Or group hallucination, group experience on a different level? Can that happen? I don't think you need to go far to realize that can happen. That people's minds can experience. Of course, your logical mind says people can't fly. But then if people are actually there and they see somebody go up into the sky, they see somebody go up into the sky. Afterwards, they say, that couldn't have been. Just a minute, you know. And then you know about physics, the weight of the body, the density, that they don't have wings. And if they had wings to lift a human body with human bones, you'd need enormous wings. Can't be possible. But can you see somebody flying? Can you see the Buddha taking footsteps and lotuses appeared? Can you hear a baby communicating with you? For sure. For sure. Even your modest teacher here, Ken, has had experiences like this. You experience it, you experience it. The people at the birth of the Buddha, that's how they saw it. Were they lifted up to another level? Was it group hallucination? Was it blessing? It doesn't matter. That's what they experienced. That's how they reportedly reported it. But then there's those kind of considerations as well. Some of the sutras, I think the one I sent you, the Lotus Sutra, the beginning's amazing. It says the Buddha sat down, he took his usual seat, and then he covered his shoulder with his robe. And so then it says, and then the arhats that were present thought, oh, we've heard it all before. We can skip this one, because they were arhats. What did the Buddha taught? Our mind gets angry. This is how you deal with anger. One-pointed meditation. They've done it. No one's going to argue with that. That kind of stuff we can do. It's just tangible work. Anger, it can get worse. It can get lighter. Concentration, you feel peaceful. You're not distracted. We understand the process. They thought, this is what it's all about. We've done it. This is for the beginners. And so it says, then they adjust their robes, they bow to the Buddha, and they ask to be excused. He didn't actually say it, but Buddha could have said, have they all gone now? And then it said, for those who were left, they saw from the Buddha's forehead here, they started to see light spiraling, and that light surrounded all of them. And they were no longer in the place that they were in before. They were in a pure land, and they started to see other Buddhas and bodhisattvas. And then in that context, on that level, they received the Lotus Sutra main teachings, which is about the oneness of the three dhyānas. Very, very, very important point. So the Buddha lifted them up through the power of his mind. course somebody can do that. If you've ever been hypnotized, you know how easy it is. So easy. I was hypnotized by a con artist in New Delhi. Lost all my money. Such a powerful mind. He came up, he told me the name of my mother. I thought, oh, this mind reader, had some powers. And this, and then if you give a little bit more money, they can tell you a little bit more. And you're completely gone. And then it's only when the guys disappeared that all of a sudden, what happened? Now, even a simple con artist like that can have mind power to make you lose your reason. So, with saintly beings, in special circumstances, of course, our awareness can be transformed. Is there some benefit in knowing about this? Yeah, because we are usually very, very stuck in our familiarity of our own karma. And it's a good exercise in open-mindedness to allow other possibilities. So I think it's a huge topic, Brendan. It's a very, very good question. And I think for myself, I think one of my problems has been that the Tibetans accept all the scriptures that they got from China, from India, as being gospel. Whereas the language research would seem to show that some of them were expedient inventions for their time. So I'd be suspicious about some of them, but I'd also use the suspicion to be curious about so many things. I don't know if that helps at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, Ken.
Yes, hello, Monique. Yeah.
I wanted to know if there is a good source or a good text to read about the 12 links. Which one would you recommend?
I did a study module on it. I can send you that. Yeah, I'll send you that.
Okay. Thank you.
But the reason I did some of these things is because there isn't an obvious source where you can say, read this. Yeah, I'll send you that.
Ken, Kagyu Rinpoche has a little book on the 12 links. There's a Kagyu Rinpoche.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I'll check that one out too. It's probably Namo Buddha Publications did quite a lot of Trungpa Rinpoche's teachings usually from when it was either myself or before me, Katia, translating for him, and they edited. Let's say they edited what we interpreted for him. I wasn't always happy with what they did, but they published it anyway, and it's good. It's a resource for people.
Ken, I wanted to say that your course on the 12 links, maybe you mentioned that. In your I forget what you call that 3-year course, but in there I think that's explained really well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's called Nangi Shedra. Nangi Shedra is a Buddhist study college, and Nangi means at home, so it's like home study. Home study. Kim, you wanted to?
Hi, Ken. I was just going to be a bit bold there and ask if it would be possible to send the document to all of us on the 12 links that you mentioned.
Yeah, of course.
Because I feel that we would probably all be it would benefit us all.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Thanks ever so much.
Ken, I'm also thinking about your Zoom talks that you've done. And as you know, I've kept a list of them and the content. Actually, you did cover the 12 links quite nicely.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I can put them in the chat. I can post the links in the chat where you cover them.
Yeah. It's on somewhere on YouTube. There's a playlist, Ken's Zoom Talks, and they're all on that. It's long. You have to scroll down it, but that's if you get to YouTube and my channel, Khenpoken, then somehow you can find the playlist. It's also on Khenpo, KHENPO.EU. That's my website. There is that play link list. It's in one of the pages. It says, I think it's just called links or something like that.
And as I remember, Ken, you can now do a special search on your YouTube channel. So once
right,
you're in your YouTube channel, you can search for 12 links, and the AI bot will find all of the times Ken has ever said 12 links.
Yeah, although ever since that kind of thing started, I've asked YouTube not to have the automatic indexing and so on. I don't like AI. I'm an old-fashioned retrograde.
Here.
And I know it can be of very, very much use, I know, for that kind of thing. But each time, like today, once I've edited this talk and upload it to YouTube, it's going to ask me if I want automatic locations, automatic this, and I can say, no, just a recording, because I'm a bad, mean old man.
You are right, Ken, in what you're saying, and I appreciate I'm similar to you with the regards privacy, but I just did a quick search on it and it does come up with I've posted the link there so people can just click on it about how to search for it, and it comes up with the 3 talks that I've got referenced where you talk about it.
Well, we make a great team. Okay, well, so as I mentioned earlier, then next week is the first Saturday of the month. It's our Tonglen group that meets then. So we're back to meditation paramita in a fortnight's time. So take good care until then. Lovely to see you, and look after yourselves well.
Thank you very much.
Oh, very much, Ken.
Thanks very much, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you
Bye,
very
everyone.
much, Ken.
Thank
Bye.
you, Ken. Bye, all.
Bye-bye.